All right, everybody, how you doing out there? Nice to see you again, world. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Phil. I also go by DJ Lowkey, and this is part of my huge record collection. I was a DJ for about since 1985 till 2022. I've been playing out in the clubs for all those years, and finally, I decided to settle down. I got a kid running around the house, so I'm no longer out there in the club spinning. But I could not stand to even think about getting rid of my record collection. I wasn't going to sell it off. There's about 10,000 records in my collection, including the CDs too. So there's no way I'm getting rid of all this music. So I'm going to start sharing it with you here, like I did on my earlier episode. And once in a while, I'll be doing a random grab of records. And today, I'm going to do probably the last 6 months of the rock and heavy metal records I've gotten in my collection. So we're going to start this out right here with AC/DC. And let's try to get this glare fixed. All right, there we go. I've been working on the glare and the shadows. But we've got AC/DC, If You Want Blood. And this one came out in 1978, I believe. And I remember this one from back when I was in junior high, I believe, or ninth grade or something. And this one always really scared us a lot, with Angus Young there being impaled with the guitar. So it's got some crazy songs like Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, which I kind of disagree with. But anyway, it's AC/DC here, where If You Want Blood. All right. Moving along, we've got some more AC/DC here with High Voltage. And I really like this one. This is a great one. It has it's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock, which has that bagpipe track on it, and it's a really cool song. I remember hearing it on the closing of School of Rock there with Jack Black. So it's a great track. It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock. It's also got the Jack TNT, which is a great song. We all like that one, of course. So here's some more AC/DC added to the collection here, and also we got one more AC/DC here. One of my favorite by the band, and this is Highway to Hell with their original lead singer here, which is Bon Scott, as y'all should know. And unfortunately, Bon passed away in 79, I believe, or early 80 from alcohol asphyxiation. It was really sad. And it kind of put the band at a crossroads, and they didn't know exactly if they were going to continue or not. So they looked around and they found themselves a new vocalist with Brian Johnson, and he took them on to really take the band into the stratosphere, basically, with Back in Black. Every song on that album was a huge track, as we all know. So they moved on, did about 10 more albums through Black Ice and other ones. So they just, Brian Johnson really took that band in a whole new direction, and they are rocking and rolling. I believe they just retired or disbanded or quit their career last year, but they had a very long history of rocking and rolling from down under. Next, we got from Southern California, one of my favorite heavy metal bands, Armored Saint, and this is The March of the Saint. This is an original pressing, not a repressing like the prior three I showed you. Those are repressings. This is an original from out in the wild. It's called March of the Saint, and these guys are awesome. They've been around since the early 80s, rocking and rolling. I first caught these guys live in concert when they opened up for Metallica on the Ride the Lightning tour. And they kicked butt big time. They're a heavy-duty band, really cool. And then I got to see them later while I was residing out in Honolulu. I was just killing some time one day. I was walking around in Waikiki, and I saw this group of guys hanging out, looked like a heavy metal band, and I knew they were opening in a day or two for Overkill. So I walked up to them, and I go, hey, are you guys one of the bands playing soon? And lo and behold, it was Armored Saint. And they were very gracious, very cool. They let me, hang out and talk to them for a while. And they actually put me on the guest list for their concert. So it was really cool to be on Armored Saint's guest list, walking in with my buddy and stuff and rocking and rolling. So once again, Armored Saint with The March of the Saint. It's a really good one. It's got Can You Deliver? It's got Madhouse, Seducer. Check them out. They are still rocking and rolling pretty hard. They just opened up for Wasp on Wasp's last tour. They blew through Albuquerque, I believe, on a Halloween evening, and Armored Saint still rocking hard with Wasp on this last tour. So Armored Saint here with March of the Saint. Moving along, let's get this happening here. We got some GNR, and this is a Target exclusive, as you can see. This is Guns N' Roses with Appetite for Destruction. And as you know, these exclusives from Target and Walmart are by exclusive colored pressings, as a matter of fact. This one is a red one, and it's a real nice one. It's on the Geffen label there. And it's got the original artwork of the original pressing, which was deemed to be very controversial. So that's why very few copies of this are floating around here in the wild. I think you'd be pressed to find one just sitting around somewhere in a record store. But if you see one, it's not going to be cheap. I guarantee you that. Moving along, we got another copy of Appetite for Destruction. I personally cannot resist this one. It's the lenticular cover, and it's a real nice slide cover. It's metallic looking, as you can see. This is a beautiful, beautiful lenticular cover, definitely. I'm not quite sure where I ordered this one. It was online somewhere, but it's got the original artwork on the sleeve. So it's kind of like the original, you know, pressing in a way. And then it's got this great picture of the band here, a nice black and white within the gatefold here. And I really like this one. Guns N' Roses with the Appetite for Destruction. One of the best and biggest rock and roll bands in our history and current times. And we really love this album, you know, or I do. And I'm sure all of you all do too. All right, I'm going to move it on to some J. We're into the J sect, the J's. And here we got some Judas Priest. And this is the picture disc of Screaming for Vengeance. And it's the classic metal masterpiece. It's the 30th anniversary picture disc. And this was one of Judas Priest's biggest commercial albums, as y'all know. And it had, you got Another Thing Coming on it, as well as Bloodstone and, you know, Devil's Child and Fever. Is a really great album. Definitely a good one. Judas Priest, the picture disc of Screaming for Vengeance. Got another Judas Priest here. This one is the Turbo repressing, and this is Turbo 30. So this is the 30-year anniversary repressing of Turbo, which actually came out in 1986, the summer of 86, I do believe. And let me get a little drink here. The Turbo album was not very popular with a lot of people. They lost a lot of their audience with that album because they incorporated the synthesizers, and people just weren't having it. They were like, not really feeling it there, you guys. So we wanted to hear the heavy metal, the guitars. So anyway, I liked Turbo. I thought it was pretty cool. It had a great stage show, that's for sure. I caught them out in Honolulu. I think that was in 86 when they came out, or 87. And local band Aaron's Rod from Honolulu opened up that show. I remember that. So shout out to Aaron's Rod out there. You know, if any of you guys are around still. Anyway, this is a nice repressing of Turbo 30. It's very quality sound, and I like it a lot. Here's another one. A lot of people haven't seen this one around. This is the 12-inch single of Turbo Lover. And Priest, you know, they didn't really do too many 12-inch singles. The 12-inch single is basically known as something for the dance floor. And this was known for that. It's the high-octane Turbo remix, which was suited for the dance floor. And it's a long version. It's got a lot of synthesizers in it. Very dance floor friendly, even though it's a metal song. But yeah, the high-octane Turbo mix of Turbo Lover by Judas Priest. So I know you haven't seen that one. Most of you haven't. All right, moving along here. We got one of my favorite original heavy metal bands, or hard rock bands, or glam bands, whatever you want to call it. We've got Kiss. And, you know, who can resist Kiss? This is the 45th anniversary repressing of Hotter Than Hell. And I have to admit, when I first saw this when I was a kid, like about 75, I think it came out, I was pretty scared when I saw this record out in the store. Especially the back cover. It kind of like freaked me out, you know, as you can see here. It's anyway, this is Hotter Than Hell. It's the 45th anniversary. Who would have known? And it came, it's being pressed here on a really nice, let's get it out, transparent gold. It's got the nice Casablanca label, as you can see. So that's a Kiss with Hotter Than Hell in my collection. One of my latest acquisitions of rock and roll, heavy metal in the last 6 months. We've also got another Kiss here with Love Gun. And Love Gun had Christine 16. This is a Walmart exclusive. and it's tangerine and aqua splatter. Let's have a look at that. Pretty nice. There we go. Tangerine aqua splatter of Love Gun, which had Christine 16. It's got the groups there on the label, on the Casablanca label. Oh, I'd like to hear the stories about Casablanca Records back in the days. As y'all know, it's that label that hosted Kiss, or they were on the roster, as well as all the disco groups and Donna Summer and the Village People. And what a weird combination. Rock and roll, heavy metal, and disco bands on the same label. And I've heard some wild stories about Neil Bogart and the Casablanca label, let me tell you. So one of these days, we'll be talking about that a little more. All right, we got one more Kiss record here. And this one is Dynasty, and I really like Dynasty. It's a good one. A lot of people don't like Dynasty. They lost a lot of fans when they did this one. This one came out, I believe, in 1978, I think. Well, this repressing here came out in 2014. But I believe the original Dynasty came out in 78 or 79. And it had I Was Made for Loving You on it. And a lot of people were like, what in the world is this? I mean, this is as close to disco as you can get. But disco was the big thing there in the late 70s. So Kiss was no stranger to jumping on the bandwagon like a lot of other rock groups did, like Doobie Brothers, Rolling Stones, and quite a few more, the Kinks. A lot of those guys did jump on that disco gravy train and release those disco 12 inches as well. So anyway, we're moving on from Kiss to Metallica, one of the greatest heavy metal bands of all time. This is my favorite album by Metallica, Ride the Lightning. As I mentioned earlier, this is the tour I saw them on, and Cliff Burton, one of their original members, passed away, unfortunately, shortly after this tour. And they were in a bus wreck over in Europe, I believe, or Scandinavia, and he lost his life while they were on tour in the bus in an accident. So it was a really sad happening. But anyway, Metallica's Ride the Lightning, one of the most heavy-duty speed metal whiplash type records out there. I mean, it's got Creeping Death, Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Oh my gosh. I mean, does it get any better than that one? And if that wasn't enough, there's Trapped Under Ice, there's Creeping Death, which is my favorite song by Metallica, and The Call to Cthulhu. This is a nice one. It's a 180-gram pressing, and I'm not sure where I got this one. It was a mail order somewhere, but I couldn't resist one copy of Ride the Lightning, so I had to get a second copy from Walmart when I saw that one there. And this one's the electric blue vinyl pressing, and we'll get a look at that one because it's pretty nice, pretty sweet. Yeah, so it's got the same label too, which is kind of hard to read because the blue is really tough to read against that black label, but it's all right though. We all know what the songs are anyway, especially you metalheads out there. So once again, a second copy of Metallica Ride the Lightning in my collection in the last 6 months. You know, are you starting to get the idea that possibly I am a vinyl junkie? I think I am. Moving along, we got some more Metallica here. This is Kill 'Em All, which was actually their first ever album that started it all, including Seek and Destroy, The Four Horsemen, Whiplash. Definitely, this one started it all. Here's Cliff, the guy I was speaking of earlier, original member, unfortunately lost his life in that accident. But Kirk Hammett, Lars Ulrich, and James Hetfield kicking off a new era of metal with Kill 'Em All, Metallica. And then one more Metallica, okay? We've got the Black Album here, which was probably their most successfully commercial album, you know, the most successful commercial album they had. And it was a really good one. It still is a really good one. And this one is a double pressing. This one is 2 records. And how are they deeming this one? This is a Walmart pressing as well. It's a Walmart exclusive. And it's on some blacker marbled vinyl is what they're calling it. Blacker marbled vinyl. And let me put some light behind it. See, as you can see, it is transparent. See? So it's a real nice, it's like smoke is basically what it looks like. It looks like smoke in the record, which is really cool. So anyway, Metallica with the Black Album. It's got a little embossed snake here too on the cover, as you can see. Nice. So anyway, Metallica in the collection. Also in the M's, we're moving on to MO, Motley Crue. And this is a great one. Shout at the Devil, of course. Definitely a big time rock and roll record, just like the GNR Appetite for Destruction. Shout at the Devil was a very scary record to a lot of parents out there. When their kids came home with this record with the pentagram on the cover, people were scared. Let me tell you. It's got them on the back too, and it's got a real nice embossed pentagram, inverted pentagram on there too. This is a repressing, by the way, but it's a proper repressing. It's not the repressing that came out like this after the first couple runs. That's what the album cover looked like later, because people were a little too freaked out. People like Tipper Gore jumping on that gravy train of like, hey, or whatever the train may be. They were out sounding the cry that this music was dangerous, it was evil, and kids should not be listening to stuff like Motley Crue. But they didn't realize that Motley Crue was saying to shout at the devil. They weren't saying to run with the devil or anything like that. They were saying shout at the devil. Okay? Next on the Motley Crue list, we've got one of my favorite Crue albums, Dr. Feelgood. And this one came out when, this repressing came out in 2022. But if I remember correctly, this one came out in 90, 91, something like that. And it was a new era for the Crue. I believe they were actually sober when they did this album and when they recorded it. They were done with all the drugs and the rock and roll and the sin and debauchery and the craziness and the OD and all that stuff. And they decided to do an album sober. And this was the result. Dr. Feelgood, and it's got some great songs on it. It's got a TNT Terror and Tinsel sound. It's got the Same Old Situation, which we all seem to like a lot. Excuse me. It's also got She Goes Down. It's a great song. Kickstart My Heart. All those great rock and roll heavy metal anthems that make you want to shake your butt. It's Motley Crue with Dr. Feelgood. And two more in the collection here in the last 6 months of heavy metal and rock and roll. Well, this one is actually alternative a little more. This one is Tool. We've got Tool, Opiate, which is a live recording. It's actually a 6-inch EP. And it's got Sweat, Hush, Part of Me, Cold and Ugly, Jerk Off, and Opiate on there. And it's a really nice recording. It's not as clear as most, live recordings are, not as that's the case, but it is a good recording. It's got some good banter in it a little bit from, I forgot his name, Maynard, from the lead vocalist. And it's really good. So anyway, I suggest you check this one out from Tool, Opiate. And one more in my collection, White Zombie, one of my favorite bands of the alt-rock era there. They were really kicking butt. This is Rob Zombie's band before he went solo, and I don't know why he ever broke up the band White Zombie. Maybe he just wanted to pay other people less on the road or something. I don't know. Maybe because the original founding artists wanted a big piece of the pie, and he didn't want to give it to him. I don't know, Rob. Why? Why did you break up the band? Anyway, it's cool, though. I like your stuff, too, that you did solo, but I'm telling you, La Sexorcista Devil music was the bomb. And this gal, she rocked it. She kicked butt, too. And I remember these guys came out to Hawaii and played when I was living out there as well. I think they played with, was it Slayer? I think it was Anthrax, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Anthrax and White Zombie, or might have been Pantera, but it was one of those. And it was with White Zombie when they first came out. It was pretty killer, but we like these guys. I like these guys a lot because, they get some good boogie rock and roll, too. And, he's into that macabre, spooky thing, monsters and hot rods and all that. So, yeah, it's real cool. White Zombie here in my collection. This is actually a 180-gram pressing as well. It's on the Geffen label, too. But it's not colored. It's not a color pressing, but it sounds very good. It's very clear, clean pressing off the master copy and everything. And anyway, I wanted to wrap it up. Once again, my name is Phil. I go by DJ Lowkey, and I spun a few different places out in Los Angeles. I've spun in Honolulu. I spun in Albuquerque, and now I'm retired. So I'm doing my show Club Loco here. We're going to try and do a show every couple days as long as I can keep up with the momentum. And we're going to work our way through this huge astronomical music collection that I got, and I will share it all with you. Y'all have a great day. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and God bless. I'll talk to you next time. Peace.